Boys, the UFC is continuing to cook up a storm in 2026. We're still awaiting confirmation, but there's tons of rumours swirling around UFC 327, and the biggest rumours I'm seeing at this point are Jiří Procházka versus Carlos Ulberg being on that card. I have no idea if this is really happening, but I'm seeing it all over my socials, as well as a bit of other news like JDM versus Prates, JDM versus Shavkat Dukhmonov, Johnny Walker versus Dominic Reyes. Yeah, the rumour mill's picking up for UFC 327, and in today's video, I'm going to be speculating about some of these fights, letting you know my early reads and putting together a few other sick fights that would round this card out. UFC 327 is confirmed to be taking place at the Kaseya Center in Miami, Florida on April 11. That much we know. It's not up on the UFC website yet, but it's on Wikipedia, so it's 100% legit. These Miami cards are usually stacked. There's a huge market for the UFC on the East Coast of the United States, and they like to put big cards on when they go down there. The last time we were there was Volkanovski versus Lopez 1, and we also had that sick UFC 287 card with the Izzy and Poatan rematch. Yeah, these cards are usually sick, and you know they'll be looking to stack this one. So without beating around the bush, let's get into some of these rumoured fights. First up, Jiří Procházka versus Carlos Ulberg. Take my fucking money, Dana. Back in the day, I made a video matchmaking Jiří Procházka after he knocked out Khalil Roundtree Jr. And that has actually been my most popular video so far. So thank you guys for all the love on that one. But in that video, I spoke about a few different paths for Jiri. The one that I felt the most strongly about and thought to be the most logical was the Ulberg fight. I said how we're likely going to get Alex vacate the light heavyweight strap at some point and go up to chase John Jones or Tom Aspinall, and that would leave Jiri and Carlos Ulberg to duke it out for the vacant or interim strap. Nothing has been confirmed in regard to what Alex Pereira is doing yet, apart from chopping Tracy Cortez, my man. But here's what I think is going to happen. Pereira's been eating good, man. He's loading up on spicy Mexican tacos, if you know what I'm saying. I think he's gearing up for a move to heavyweight. He's been going back and forth with John Jones, and with Tom Aspinall taking a few months off to put in his eye drops, things are up for grabs at heavyweight. I doubt the UFC is going to go to Miami without a title fight on the card, so either another title fight gets added above Prochazka versus Ulberg, or that fight is for the light heavyweight belt, vacant or interim. Here's a couple of things that could happen. Number one, Pereira versus Ankalaev 3 as the main event, Jiri versus Ulberg as the co-main number one contender fight. Winners of both fights fight each other next. Honestly, should be the move. Even though Ank got molly-whopped in the rematch with Alex, he was doing a fair bit of work at light heavyweight before that, and he does have a clear win over Alex. They are 1-1. That path makes the most sense logically, but we all know the UFC matchmaking is not based on logic. Even though they love Hamzat in Islam, they seem to not like Big Ank, and the whole world seemed to just kick him to the curb after Alex emoted on him at UFC 320. So while the hard-nosed, logical UFC purist in me thinks that this is the option, deep down I know that this isn't even really an option for the UFC. So let's explore some other options. Number two, the UFC pulls the same interim bullshit they're pulling at UFC 324, ices Alex Pereira, and sets up Jiri versus Ulberg for the interim belt. That fight headlines the card, and they throw a decently stacked, entertaining card underneath it. These days, there's not many fights in the UFC that can actually headline a numbered event without being for a title, but honestly, Jiří Procházka is one guy who could probably do that. But I think with where these two guys are at in the division, and with Jiri being clearly the second best guy at light heavyweight, they'll have to find a way to get Jiri back fighting for the belt. This, in my opinion, is what's going to happen here. Jiri versus Ulberg, vacant light heavyweight strap, official confirmation that Pereira is vacating, going to heavyweight, and these two titans battling it out for the belt. Pereira then goes up to fight John Jones for a super fight, or maybe Cyril Gane for the interim heavyweight belt. Then, if he loses, back down he comes to take on the winner of Prochazka and Ulberg. Whichever way you slice it, we get some banger fights, and I am stoked either way. So that's option two. Option three, the UFC finds another title fight to headline 327, and Ulberg versus Prochazka is just a 5-round co-main event. Looking at this though, I'm not exactly sure which champs are available and likely to headline that big card above Jiri and Ulberg. Joshua Van versus Manel Kape is an option, but I've heard that fight rumoured for other cards, and it just doesn't really make a lot of sense to be above a big, light heavyweight bopper fight. Merab Yan 2, maybe, but I doubt it. It won't be featherweight or lightweight, we know that. Most likely won't be welterweight either. Islam won't fight so close after Ramadan, and he probably won't fight until International Fight Week or on the White House card anyway. That leaves Hamzat. Maybe he fights a Mavlov on this card. Just doesn't seem right to me though. And again, Ramadan as well. And then it's just light heavyweight and heavyweight, and we kind of just spoke about them. They're not going to put a chick fight above that. So if they were to try a legit undisputed title fight above this one, I reckon it would most likely be Merab versus Yarn 3, Hamzat versus a Mavlov, or Van versus Cap in that order of likelihood, I reckon. But something tells me the UFC is going to look to capitalise on having Jiri close to the belt. They love Jiri, and we've seen they're pretty happy to do the interim thing lately. So my pick for what happens: Ulberg versus Prochazka for the vacant light heavyweight belt, Pereira to heavyweight, and these big boys headline the card, and I am totally okay with that. A Jiří Procházka fight is like a life event to me these days. I remember where I was for every Jiri fight. I'd miss my nan's fucking funeral for this shit. As far as the fight itself, dude, it's fucking dope. Jiri is a juggernaut, and it's hard to see anyone beating him, but I'm a little bit nervous for him against Ulberg. It's probably the toughest fight for Jiri outside of Alex. Ulberg is of the same archetype as Poatan. He's big, strong, fast, technical, and he's got insane knockout power. He's got a patient, accurate kickboxing style, which could be very dangerous for Jiri, especially with how much Jiri gets hit and how he looked against Khalil in rounds 1 and 2. But Carlos Ulberg can be broken, man, and you just don't want to be in there with Jiri if there's a chance you break and fold. Jiri will expose you. Ulberg can be backed up. He got finished by Kennedy and Nzechukwu up against the cage after some sustained pressure and a bit of a gas out. That was ages ago though. Ulberg, I reckon, has improved since then, but I don't know. Nzechukwu's kind of dog shit. It's not aged well at all. We saw how shit he looked against Marcus Buchecha. Stylistically, I can see it going similar to the Roundtree fight. Ulberg just being a bit more technical, sharp, and composed early. Jiri jiggling around, flopping his antenna, rolling his shoulders. Let's go for that, looking like shit, getting tagged here and there, but getting closer and closer to Carlos's chin as the fight goes on. Starts looking for flying knees, spinning elbows, goofy shots. Yeah, I can see Ulberg doing quite well in this fight until he isn't. The gas tank is suspect, and Jiri just gets better and better as the fight goes on. So round 2 or 3 KO for Jiri, I reckon it'd be on the cards again. Maybe even a submission, bro. Don't sleep on Yuri's jiu-jitsu. He's getting versatile and tricky as his career goes on. I don't think Ulberg's grappling is that good, so don't be surprised if Jiri looks to wrestle and submit Ulberg in this fight either. But I doubt it. Ulberg is good, bro. I underestimated him last time against Reyes, but come on. I did pick Reyes in that fight like a fucking idiot, but I still don't think Ulberg's that good, and I'm extremely biased towards Anzac fighters. Jiri is much, much better than Dominic Reyes. Jiri's much better than Jan Blachowicz, who gave Ulberg a hard time too. Jiri's just better than everyone. Like, somehow he's shit until you're just unconscious. So yeah, I got Jiri by finish. I am worried though. Carlos Ulberg is very dangerous, and I do think he'd beat Khalil Roundtree Jr. Let's talk about some other fights that I hope go on that card. There's a couple of fights that have been rumoured already. JDM has dropped a few hints about fighting on this card too. He's gone back and forth on socials with Carlos Prates. I think Prates might have called him out and JDM accepted. There's also been some rumours of JDM wanting to fight Shavkat Rakhmonov too, but as far as I'm concerned, Shavkat's in witness protection at the moment, so I'm going to pretend he isn't in the picture. JDM would fucking finish him anyway. JDM versus Prates. Yes, yes, yes. I need this fight. I called for this one in my welterweight matchmaking video. This is the one, boys. Striking fans' wet dream. The two best strikers in the division. Guaranteed to be a stand-up war. Both guys very, very capable of finishing one another. I need this fight, man. Someone's going to sleep for sure. If Jack is back and he isn't still constipated, I think he can beat Carlos Prates. But I really don't know, man. I think in a stand-up fight, these guys would go toe-to-toe and both beat each other 5 out of 10 times. It's a bit of a coin flip fight, I reckon. I got to have this fight, man. My early lean would be towards JDM, but honestly, that's based on pure bias. Hopefully this one gets done for 5 rounds as the co-main, and I reckon those 2 fights alone sell this card. The other one I've heard floating around that makes sense is Johnny Walker versus Dominic Reyes. Makes sense to go on the card headlined by light heavyweight action. Reyes is connected to Ulberg, obviously. 40 in his last fight on that Perth card. Johnny Walker is coming off a big win over Zhang Ming Yang. The UFC likes this guy and he's good business, entertaining as fuck, and he's in the UFC's good books at the moment. I can see Johnny Walker being back in the title picture with another win. Always good to have big fights in the same division as the headline fight, so I could definitely see this happening. Early lean there would probably be towards Johnny Walker, but he's so hard to predict, man. He's such a cooker. Absolutely anything can happen in a Johnny Walker fight, including him injuring himself. But yeah, I think we're reaching Dominic Reyes is wash status, boys, sadly. I'd probably go Johnny Walker by KO. He's fucking dangerous, even if he is goofy as fuck. Could see Johnny Walker winning this by a flying knee or something. Okay, so that's the 3 fights that have been heavily rumoured. Already a big card there, but what else makes sense on that card? Miami guys obviously belong on here, so you can probably tell where I'm going with this. Let's get Colby Covington versus Stephen Wonderboy Thompson on here. Dual retirement fight. Both these unks are cooked, bro. Their times are done. Don't know how Colby's still ranked, but he ain't making it back to the belt. Colby has wanted this fight for ages, so let's give it to him. Shut him up, get him out of here. Colby versus Stephen Thompson. Make it the featured fight out of respect. Let these unks go at it in their final fights in the UFC. Fan-friendly fight. Great one to get things heated up on the main card. That leaves the main card opener spot. So far, we've got a couple of big light heavyweight fights, 2 welterweight wars. I reckon you want like a little man scrap to get things started here. Let's look at some big fights at lightweight or below that makes sense. A big pay-per-view main card opener deserves a ranked fight or thereabouts around the rankings. Look, my first thought was Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy, which could be an option, but I've got a feeling that fight's going to end up headlining like the London card in March or something like that. It's probably a bit too big to open that card as well. Michael Chandler could be looking for a fight, but I still think he's chasing the red panty night and at like a White House card appearance. I've gone through the rankings, I've thought long and hard, and I think a perfect fight to open this card would be Steve Garcia versus Josh Emmett. Bro, this would slap. If I recall correctly, Steve Garcia called out Josh Emmett or Brian Ortega for his next fight after he demolished David Onama. Absolute banger guaranteed. Emmett has copped a couple of hidings lately and he just got submitted by Yusuf Zalal but didn't take much damage. So let's give him a striking matchup against Steve Garcia and let him bang, bro. Sick fight, violence guaranteed, awesome way to open the card. I'd probably go with Steve Garcia by decision, but Emmett's tough, man. Anything could happen in that fight. All right, fellas, I spent all day making that video yesterday and you guys are fucking sleeping on it. Go check it out, my UFC New Year's wish list if you haven't. I just wanted to make a quick one today with a few of these ideas. So yeah, cheers for watching. Let me know how you think the Jiri versus Ulberg thing's going to play out, who you got in some of these hypothetical matchups. Let me know if I missed a couple of obvious ones or any news that's dropped today. Like the vid if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more cooked matchmaking and rants. Give us a follow on Instagram at PunchOnsMMA. I'll see you cookers on the next one. Let's go for that. Punch on!